Hey guys, Dan Dix here from Press for Truth. We're here with Marin Katusa. Sir, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us today.
No problem.
Now, in your book, The Colder War, you touched on a little bit on how Putin used these false flags to get himself into power. What can you tell us a little bit about Putin's background and his kind of rise to power?
Well, he's a brilliant individual. If you look at how fast he elevated in East Germany during the communist era, he went back to St. Petersburg, got his PhD, worked in the government officials, and then he went over to Moscow and most importantly brought his inner crew, what I call the St. Petersburg boys, and he consolidated power. And what Putin first did was consolidate power within Russia. He took on the oligarchs head on. Khodorkovsky is a great example for that. And at the time, people won't admit it, but NATO expansion. If you look at the Rose Revolution, if you look at the Orange Crush Revolution in 2004 in Ukraine, Putin picked his battles very wisely. At the time, he wasn't in a position to fight the Western influence. And now it's revealed that it was the Western influence that caused that revolution. This time, NATO's trying to expand. It was about the EU of Ukraine. And there's four key critical elements why Eastern Ukraine's definitely important to Russia. Number one, the pipelines. Number two, you look at Crimea, it's a deep sea warm port, offshore oil deposits, and most importantly, if Ukraine joins the EU, now it has its tax advantage over the Russians within the former CIS states. So, Putin's now standing up to the West, and the rest of the world's taking notice. So the emerging markets, you look at China and Russia, all these sanctions against Russia have pushed a fast forward button on the relationship and the progression of deals for long-term supply of oil and gas from Russia to China.
Well, with Saudi Arabia saying they're not going to halt oil production, Russia increasing interest rates, how is this going to play out on people in the West here? Like how is it going to play out on us?
For the average American right now, it's not going to affect them until the fall of the petrodollar. Then it will change the standard of living of every American. But look, you look at the oil patch, there's layoffs. That's where the high-paying jobs have been in the Bakken and the Eagle Ford. They're not at Walmart. They're not at McDonald's. They're in the oil patch, where a guy who wants to work hard can make $100 grand a year. That's the resource sector. You're seeing the price affect the industry significantly, but the average American or the average Canadian, it hasn't affected them yet. They think this is good news for the lower oil prices. But eventually what will happen is the production will decrease because it's not economic to produce more. And if the prices stay lower at this point, we'll reach an inflection point where now we'll go from excess to, the cure for low prices is low prices. So we'll have the inflection point or pinch point, and then at that point, it'll accelerate quickly.
Are there ways, if the inevitable petrodollar crashes, are there ways that Canadians can protect themselves from this?
Definitely. Gold is a currency, and it's how you protect yourself from a depreciating dollar. So you look at the Canadian dollars dropped 20%, but gold is priced in US dollars, so you've protected yourself from that fall in the Canadian dollar, right? So that's what gold's about. It's an insurance hedge on the depreciating currency.
Then why such a huge decrease in the price of gold in the last 12 months? Is there a correlation there with what's going on with oil?
A big drop happened in late 2011 when it went from 1,800 down to where it is today. It's 1,200. Everything's about supply and demand essentially. All economics, all business comes down to supply and demand. And when you look at the cost of bringing new production, it's getting pretty close to the full cycle costs of gold production. So could gold go to 1,000? Definitely. Anything can happen. But at a certain point, like I said earlier, low prices is cured by low prices. And then at that point, the demand increases and the supply is not there, so prices increase.
So gold is still a safe bet to protect people who want to protect their assets?
Gold's a very conservative bet. It's not just the last 10 years, it's been for the last 5,000 years. And gold is the true currency of the global economy.
Awesome. Where can people go to learn more from you?
Just go to the caseyresearch.com website.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
My pleasure.